Hello, what's up, guys? So today I want to talk to you guys about Staggering Elixir, like what that means for the game, how we can use it to become better players. So I just want to get on to what Staggering Elixir means, who coined it, stuff like that. So Staggering Elixir was a term coined by the Reddit user Balater Gaius, and I remember reading the guide. He wrote this really in-depth advanced guide that got me thinking about things like staggering elixir, lane pressure, using cards in certain different lanes, stuff like that. It was really good, really well written, and this point in particular stuck with me because I didn't understand what this term meant, how it was so important. Right now it's being used by a ton of players, but I don't think that a lot of them know why they're doing it. I just think that they're doing it because it feels, it's natural, but no one has put the term to it just quite yet. Uh, so yeah, you're probably gonna ask, like, what is staggering elixir then? What is it? Well, it just refers to putting in. It's like using elixir. You're putting in elixir, using it, so that you don't leak elixir at 10. You're using. You're going to put elixir that you have into a card, right? That will eventually make you value. And you want to play your elixir into a card that won't immediately lose you the game. This card has to be somewhat low. It typically has to be somewhat low of an elixir, and that is versatile. This goes hand in hand with our pursuit of consistency in our game. So, I mean, we just talked about it, but like, I want to put it out there. Like, why is this so important? Well, if you want to play Clash Royale in not a risky style, if you want to play it in a way where you're just not kind of throwing elixir at an opponent, then staggering elixir is like the term that you want to learn. This is the reason why you see people play cards like archers, musketeers, bowlers, furnace, tombstones. These cards are very good at staggering your elixir, and they're good opening cards. They're good cards to play when you're sitting at 10 because they don't immediately lose you the game. They're not something that has like huge weaknesses whenever they're played. Of course, other cards stagger better, and we're going to talk about that later, but I just want you guys to keep that in mind. So when we talk about staggering elixir, it obviously refers to the macro part of the game. It refers to the economy of the game. I think in Clash Royale the economy is pretty simple. The only thing is that just like, don't leak your elixir, don't leak when you're sitting at 10, and it goes hand in hand with this concept right here. So if we're talking about this, what cards are good at staggering and like why? What makes a good stagger card? Well, a good stagger card depends on, I think, two values. I think two values that kind of determine like whether or not it's good. I believe it's the speed of the card plus the potential value that the card can earn over time. Typically, the cards that are very good have low speeds, so it's a low speed, and the potential for value is very high. Cards like Princess have historically been very good stagger cards. Elixir Collector, but like less nowadays since the 6 elixir is a very risky card. Bowler is very slow. You know, it's 5 elixir, it's slow, but it can get a lot of value if your opponent plays into it. So like, what would be bad stagger cards, right? Well, when you have high speed and the potential value is sort of not known. It's like it's very much that you don't get very much value from this card. Cards like Hog Rider, typically I call these cards proactive cards. I don't really call them stagger cards. Proactive cards, things like Hog, Miner, see. Make sure I remember some of these cards. Like Cannon is not good. Minions is not good. Minions will, when you play them, they'll fly across the map. They kind of throw 3 elixir at you for free. Mini P.E.K.K.A is not a good stagger card because it's very quickly, it's very fast, it's very easy to distract, and it does not get any value. Let's see. And probably cards like Prince 2. These are proactive cards, and they're different. Okay. Move this again. So, if you ask me, like, why wouldn't you have just like a full deck that can like stagger elixir very well? Well, that's kind of simple. When you have an entire deck, imagine if you just built a deck that had Princess, Bowler, yeah, like Princess, Bowler, Musketeer, Archer, stuff like that. They all have something in common in that they're not proactive. If you need to win a game at this moment, like the countdown timer is, I don't know, like 30 seconds, and your tower is gone. You don't want to have only a Musketeer to be able to drop at the bridge. It's not reliable. So in this scenario, you need a balance of proactive cards and stagger cards if you want to play consistently in Clash Royale. So having like a Musketeer and a Hog in a deck balances each other out. If you need something to be played at the back and to like a card that can be played at the back and won't immediately lose you the game, you have Musketeer here. And if you need a card that could immediately get you a tower in the scenario, you have Hog in your deck. So another thing that will probably come up, another issue that you'd probably come to mind is just like, how do you feel about tanks then? Well, depends on the tank. Like, famously, the Giant, because it's 5 elixir, does very well as a stagger card. 5 elixir is sort of that breaking point when it comes to elixir. Like, if we have a chart here, 10 is the highest, 1 is the lowest, 5 would be in the middle. Typically, cards all under here are very good, well, are better stagger cards than the ones up here. Because typically, the higher the elixir goes, and depending on the early game, the more dangerous it is to play it. Cards like Golem is not a good elixir card, a good stagger elixir, unless it's played in the very specific scenario. Golem, as an 8 elixir card, should not ever be played in the beginning of the game, because 1, you don't know what your opponent has. 2, when you put 8 down here, it goes kind of against everything that Staggering Elixir kind of helps you in the game for. Like, this right here is inherently a very risky move because you don't know what your opponent is going to do. This is not how you should be playing. But if, say, the timer was, again, like 50 seconds and you just hit double elixir overtime and your opponent just played a Hog Rider, they just played their win condition, then it's safe to use a Golem as a stagger card because you know that you're not going to die there. But then, like, alright, let's talk about buildings then. What about cards like the Furnace? What about cards like Cannon? What about cards like Tombstone? Well, buildings and spawners are a little bit different. Spawners are typically always going to be better. Like, you don't drop Cannon as a card to put in Elixir. It will time out very quickly. It doesn't create value for you. But if you play Furnace, it acts as a building, health, and creates value over time. This is a much better stagger card than Cannon. But they each have their own different roles. Like, it's not like Cannon is by far a lesser card than Furnace. It's just different in terms of how we think about it when we're trying to play the game in a consistent manner. So obviously, some cards are better than others when it comes to staggering. I think, like, if we talk about the meta cards right now, like, a lot of people are running cards like Mega Minion. If we like rate which one is better at staggering, well, the Musketeer is really good because let's see its speed. Yeah, its speed is medium, and this one's medium. So the speed is the same, but the difference is the, what is it called? Expected value, potential value that they can make. Musketeer will kill off a Mega Minion. just by itself, like one-on-one, and their speeds are matching. So the Musketeer is a higher, it has a higher potential value. So it's better as a stagger card, but it costs one more, and it can't be played as like a reaction most of the time, like where Mega Minion can be. Mega Minion can just be dropped on a unit and will swipe away. So if we go into just match, usually stagger cards are played in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positions. You can be played here, can be played here, sort of, can be played here, 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 here. Typically where you're gonna play them. Archers are good because they can be split. Furnaces are good because they create value over time. Hog, as we talked about, as we remember, are not staggered cards. You play them, they're proactive, they get this amount of value right away. They don't let you build elixir over time, but it's still okay to play this as like a beginning card. Okay, I think that's all I really wanted to touch on here, and I think this is definitely something I want players to know in the community. Just like have a name for it. When you name the term, it'll definitely help you in terms of thinking about the game and putting it into a way where you kind of can sort of catalog it for yourself. So when you see people play like Musketeers at the back, know that that's like a very strong opening move, and that you're gonna probably have to play around it, or you can match it with cards like Bowler. Bowler has is better as a stagger card than a Musketeer because it can go one-on-one, puts even more elixir down for you. And I hope this dissuades you from, you know, just dropping princes, dropping princes, dropping mini P.E.K.K.A.s, dropping these cards at the bridge, like Elite Barbarians too, because they're not very good and not very consistent ways to play. And as we talked about before, consistency is the way to really improve in this game, really bring up your game to the next level. If you have any questions, comment below, like, subscribe, and I will check it out. There will be more videos coming, and thank you guys.